Hey guys, I want to talk to you about the shooting that happened in Minneapolis on Saturday, and I want to kind of work through how I'm feeling, and I want to share with you how I think we as a community, not just like locally here in the community that I live in, but in our local communities, in our states, and in the country as a whole, need to respond. To recap, Alex Pretti this Saturday was killed. It was an extrajudicial killing in the streets of Minneapolis. He was not engaged in any type of violent conduct. He was not engaged in any type of violent interference with law enforcement. And yet, law enforcement, knowing that there were cameras everywhere recording what they were doing, took out their weapon and shot him in the street in cold blood. And then they went on television and on radio and on Twitter and on the social media and tried to sell us on the idea, on the belief that he was a domestic terrorist, that he was in the streets intending to commit what they called maximum carnage against law enforcement. And we can see with our own eyes that that's not true. We can see with our own eyes that he was there peacefully assembled and using his First Amendment rights to protest the conduct of these Border Patrol or ICE agents. And we know from the already so many narratives that we've heard from people who knew this individual, Alex, the kind of person he was, and he was anything but a terrorist. And yet they are trying to convince us that this is the case. And here's the thing. There are a lot of people who are buying that narrative. There are people who will accept any narrative that supports the administration and this Homeland Security Department and will make the actions that these agents on the streets are taking seem justifiable. Whatever narrative is needed to make those actions justifiable, they will accept that as truth, regardless of the fact that the evidence before them tells them that it's a lie. Now think about this. Those agents who shot Alex in the street without any court, trial, or judgment, an extrajudicial killing, they knew that people were recording them. And yet they felt an impunity that they could do this and not be held accountable. We have got to hold them accountable. We have got to hold those officers accountable. We have got to hold the administration that is enabling this conduct accountable. And we have got to make sure that we fight back for our constitutional democracy. And it is a fight. But here is the thing that we have got to be mindful of. What they want us to do, and when I say us, I mean you, me, my children, my family, all the good people that I am neighbors with who are outraged by what they're seeing in terms of this unlawful conduct by ICE and this flagrant disregard for our Constitution. What they want us to do is to respond violently. They want us to act in the way that they're saying Renee Good acted and in the way Alex Pretti acted, claiming that they were domestic terrorists. They want us to engage in violent behavior so that they can say, see, that's exactly what we were talking about. They want us to respond in a way that will justify whatever they've done and then will become justification for even worse things that they will do going forward. They want to sow chaos in our communities so that we rise up and respond inappropriately, violently, so that they can say whatever we do from this point forward is justified. We can't do that. The other thing that they would love for us to do is at the polar opposite of responding violently. And that is to retreat into our homes and let them do whatever they're doing without any objection. They want to sow fear into our hearts and our minds to make us feel like it's hopeless, that there's nothing that can be done. And they want us to retreat and surrender. And that would be maybe just as good for their purposes as people creating violent responses to justify their further lawlessness. We can't do that. But there is a great risk that one or both of those things will happen. That there will be outliers in our community who will react as vigilantes and engage in violence, and that many of us who are still sitting in our homes and have not come out will continue to sit in our homes and not come out. I was with some friends and we were talking about this over the weekend, and one of the individuals, one of my friends said, look, you know what, like a lot of us have a lot to risk, and we can't afford to put our families in danger, our livelihoods in danger. There's so much at risk for us personally. We can't go out into the streets. We can't speak out in public because, if we do those things, then we will suffer. And that's probably true, that there is a potential that when individuals speak out, that there will be targeted retribution for them by their employers, by their clients, by neighbors, by whomever contributes to their livelihood. That is probably the same circumstance that existed in any point in history. During the 1930s, there was probably a risk to people speaking out against the events that led to the Holocaust. There are people who probably stayed silent in the face of the genocides in the Balkans and in Rwanda and in Gaza and in Myanmar. Then there are people who stayed quiet in India in the face of the violent repression against Muslims. Take any moment in history where there has been gross injustice and there were people who could have spoken out, who didn't, out of fear of retribution. And know this, that if we choose that path of least resistance, that we are in good company, that others have chosen that path as well. But if you're like me and you believe that this life is but a test and that we have to go before God and answer to Him, what are we going to say? Why did we remain silent? Why did we do less than everything we could do? And God knows our hearts better than we know them. And so that's what keeps me on edge and always thinking, what more should I do? What else can I do? What is my responsibility? And so that's what keeps me going out into the streets and just lending my body in that crowd during that rally. It's what keeps me writing about these things. It's what keeps me talking about these things in the legal community from a rule of law and constitutional democracy perspective. Not all of us have to be in the streets every single day, but all of us have to do more than what's comfortable for us. As I've told my kids 1,000,000 times, in order to really be productive, we've got to get to the point where we're comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's whether you're pursuing your career, your education, athletic endeavors, or social justice. And this right now is a critical time for the United States. Our freedom hangs in the balance.